Hi everybody, it's time for another video and it's autumn and so I feel like I'm back in school. It always reminds me of starting a new school year, so I get all revved up and ready to do videos weekly again. So that's a great pleasure of mine. So today I'm going to do a video. My message is sort of archetypal, sort of not. It is on a pattern that I want to share with you that I observed because I saw it in motion yesterday, and I had flashbacks of when I'd seen it, both in the positive and in the negative, or the shadow, shall we say, so many times. And I just want to share it with you to see if you identify with it. And then I'm going to talk a little deeper about that pattern, and then we're going to go into something mystical. So this is like potluck at a laundromat. So yesterday I was in line. And the most interesting things happen when you don't expect it. And I'm listening to this conversation between the woman in front of me and the woman who works there. And everything this woman in front of me, everything the customer was asking, the woman who worked there said, "You can't do that. No, that won't work. No, that won't work." And then she said, "Can't you think of anything to help me out of this or help me with this?" And she says, "No, no, no." And I'm watching this, and then the woman had to leave, and I watched her walk out, but you could just feel this shattering disempowerment that just filled the air. And I was reminded of an incident with a dear friend of mine when we were going someplace, and she said, "I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get in with this card, but I'm going to try." She goes up to the desk and she says to the woman, "This, can I get in with this?" And she said, "No, you can't." And then my friend said, "Isn't there anything that can't you work? I could use a miracle today." And she said, and my friend said to her, "You look like the sort of person that could make miracles happen." And all of a sudden, this woman changed. And she said, "Well, let me see what I can do for you." And by God, she made it work. And as I think about conversations and people, and I think there's this, I've taught it for a million years, that power is the fundamental ingredient of the human experience. Really, everything we do, everything we say, everything we wear, everything is a power negotiation. Should I wear this dress? Now, I'll lose power. You can tell yourself, "I won't look good in it," but they translate it'll cost me power. Should I buy this car? Will it empower me? It doesn't matter. It's the tone of voice. Someone uses a particular tone of voice and you're gutted, you are disempowered. Everything we do, honestly, if there's one jewel you take from this little video, it's that everything is a power negotiation. And you remember that. Even how you think to yourself, how you talk to yourself, it's a power. Am I going to empower myself today, or am I going to disempower myself today with negative thinking? It's all that. But because power is the ingredient of life, part of the human journey, I believe, is that we evolve from our need to acquire power to feel safe, to our need to decide what does empower us, from the acquisition of power to empowering, which is a deeper level. When you get to the place where you realize stuff itself has no power, it's just, I'm going to barricade myself with stuff until I get to the place where I feel like I have what's called self-esteem, and I can trust my inner self to not require a barricade of stuff to represent my power that I don't have. And so then the next step is this sense of how we empower ourselves, how we develop a sense of self. But then the next step in our evolution, really, is how we learn to empower others, is our capacity to utilize our gifts and our graces to do what we can to empower the lives of other people. It doesn't matter if it's one, two, or 1,000 that you're in charge of, but the challenge is to empower other people in your life in ways, and to use your graces to do that. Like, maybe, and how many times have I heard someone have an idea, and when I think of it, because there's a part of me that's just a natural editor. I edit what the person's thinking, and I'll think, but if you did this way or this way, it might help you a lot. And I just jump in there with this helpful editing, so to speak. Like, it's a great idea, but this, and if you do that. But it's so difficult for so many people to empower other people, to give them a compliment, to give them support, to say, for example, well, I think, when they say to you, what do you think about this? Well, I think it's great, and it could be better, and you could do it. To be that positive influence in someone's life. It's terrifying for people, because they think that there's a shortage of power, that somehow or other, when you're in the world of stuff, you think, you'll get more stuff if I do this. You'll get more attention. You'll get more this, you'll get more that. Whatever it is people think. And, one of the mystical laws is that, a rising tide lifts all ships, that we are all connected, that the more we empower others, the more empowerment spreads throughout the human community. And I think that's when you look at leaders that have really stood out and inspired others, people like Gandhi or Martin Luther King or Jr. or or John F. Kennedy. I mean, these people inspired other people tremendously, because they were always talking about what a human being is capable of, our greater potential, our greater possibility. The job was to empower others, empower others. And I look at this mechanism in us, and how small. You don't need much to empower another person. Not much at all. I mean, a smile will do it. A positive word will do it. A positive thought will do it. The slightest thing goes the greatest distance with people. Just like the slightest slight, saying something like, is devastating. It's devastating. And I keep, one of the core messages that I have to teach in the remaining years of my life is how powerful each of you is, how much power you have, and that to think of yourself in any way as lacking in a capacity to transform your life is a complete illusion. I mean, I marvel at what we could do for each other by the slightest acts by the slightest acts of kindness, by the slightest acts of being supportive, of being of empowering somebody else. That when there's a lot of homeless people these days, certainly, and even in my neighborhood, there's a lot of homeless people. And I really do believe in that teaching of Jesus, be my hands in the world. Do something for the homeless, do something, no matter how small, just do something. And I always remember the teaching of my father, who said, be grateful you're not the one asking, but have something to give. And out of that deep regard I had for my father, and the teaching, the core teaching in Christianity, I can't pass a homeless person without giving them whatever it is I can give them at the time, 5, 20, 50 cents, doesn't matter. It's whatever I can do at the time. But I watch people ignore them. And I understand that. I understand, because there's so many and whatever. But I think we can also give them a prayer. I don't think we realize how much of an impact praying for others and using our power to at least bless them, do something, help them, God, something in that way does for them. It may do a lot more than the $20 you throw in their cup, but to be someone who walks the world thinking, I have to do what I can to empower others in any way I can, to share the grace that runs through me with others. And you can, do it off radar. You don't have to walk down the street and openly, tell people. But if you walk down with kindness, or that idea that, everybody has, I gave a talk the other day, and I love small talks because it gives me a chance to speak with people, to meet them, and to have conversations with them. And you never know what goes on in a person's life, but in a small atmosphere, you have the opportunity. I have the opportunity to speak with them, and in those moments, it is astonishing to me how much of a life comes out in a conversation. How much people are carrying in them, how much they're burdened, how much they're suffering, how alone they are, how whatever it is. And if and if I had a way to alleviate that for people, my God, I would. But what I can do is listen with compassion and always give them hope. And again, this is what all of us can do for each other, is give each other hope. Give each other this comfort that this too will pass. My grandmother always used to say, everything passes, everything passes. Don't, she didn't even realize she was a Buddhist, but she had this, don't get attached to that and everything passes. I mean, she had this kind of wholesome soul wisdom that always paid off when we listened to it. And I always think that when we can leave each other with hope, when we can do that for each other. And I came back thinking, from that talk, by the way, I came back thinking about the people in the group. And, I recently did this wonderful class with Nancy Rhines, highlighting her near-death experience and all the wisdom she brought back from that experience. And I wanted to share that with all of you. So I did that class. Well, one of the things Nancy experienced, and this is the mystical part of my little chat with you, one of the mystical things she experienced was she saw the interconnection between herself and all of life, the threads that tie us together. And in listening to so many near-death experiences of people I don't know, but I've listened to their stories, many say that it was an astonishing phenomenon to see how all life breathes together, that we're connected by this circuitry that binds us all together like cells of one huge body. And that is a profound image, I think. But I think it's a profound mystical fact. We can't see it here, but I think that's the way it is. I think all life is interconnected like that. But I also wonder what would happen if we made use of this truth, of this mystical truth. What would happen, for example, if we decided to combine our energies, our network, and really gather together via Zoom, via a class, and learn how to activate this potential that we have to heal each other, to send grace to each other, to activate the highest part of ourselves, so that we don't have this sense. What we would be actually doing is living in the fullness of our energetic sacred anatomy, because that's how it works. It's attached we're attached to everything. So why not utilize it, right? Why not learn to utilize this field? I mean, it is the same field that is animated. It's when people get together to meditate, when they get together to celebrate, because there's something in the field of life, because we are all interconnected. And when I go back to this teaching of this archetypal challenge we have when it comes to empowering each other, I think that it's worth examining whether you would want to consciously participate in a collective practice of empowerment, a collective, to actually decide, yeah, you know what, that is the way I'm wired, so why am I not using it? Why do I just learn about it in a lecture and then walk away and shut it down? What if I was actively, consciously, and through my inner work, animating that part of myself to 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 bring it forward as much grace as I could? Now, I would ask you in your own life, when you are in the smallest, I mean, whether it's a tiny conversation, no matter what you're doing, I want you to remember that everything is a negotiation of power. Everything, everything you do, everything. Whether you're impatient waiting in line or whatever, everything's a negotiation of power. And you are this channel through which you are channeling the power that is your own life. And so the words you say, the thoughts you have, everything are just flowing from you and going into the creative outlets of life. That's how it is. We are the co-creative agents of what unfolds here in our personal environment and in our collective environment. And so pay attention to whether you're somebody who is a gate opener or someone who shuts the gate, someone who says to someone, no, that's not going to work, or I don't know, maybe someone who puts up obstacles for others, or if you're someone who says, oh, you know what, something will come along. If that doesn't work, something else will. Just hang in there. It's just you'll get through it. You'll get through this. It's I want you to pay attention to that. And if you take a look and you realize, you know what? I think that I put up obstacles. I could say a nicer thing, but I don't. I I could help someone with what they're doing, but I don't. If you could answer this kind of self-examination honestly, then ask yourself, I wonder what that is. What is that part of me that holds back? Because if I have this feeling or this perception of something that I know will make someone feel better, I always think now that I've had that perception and I should deliver it to them, that it would enhance their life. And so I do. I do. That's how I teach. I'll deliver it to them. But I don't hold back anymore. Rather, I think maybe I'm getting a perception that you are incapable of feeling or sensing, and it's coming through me. And I want you to think about the times when people have said something positive to you and how much of a difference that's made in your life. The people that have been gate openers for you. And that more often than not, it wasn't a huge conversation. It doesn't take much for each of us to empower each other. It doesn't take much. It just takes the willingness to open the gate. And in the smallest, most incredible ways. Really, it doesn't. So I'll leave you with that, but I also will ask you if you how it sounds to have a network, a grace network, in which we all participate in helping each other, in being a part of each other, in being a part of this ongoing network of grace that we could share with each other. If you had concerns, if you need grace for health, and you had a group of people, what would that feel like to you? If you had a group of people that you could ask for grace, that you could participate in that. I don't know. I just have a feeling that we could do so much for each other if we opened those gates. So, okay, everyone, thank you.